Good morning. How are you? This is Josh. I saw more movies, guys. I don't know what happened. I was just minding my own business, and the next thing I know, I had gone to the movies and seen motion pictures. In between some of the bigger things that I've reviewed recently, I've also now seen two animated films in the last week or so. Well, I didn't plan it this way thematically, but they're both animated movies about robots. So I figured I would tackle them both in one video, but I'm gonna probably be getting one of them out of the way a little bit. So let me start with Transformers 1, which I saw. And look, I'm an incredibly punctual moviegoer. I plan, where I pick my seat strategically and I get there and I decide whether I'm going to see the trailers, whether they're likely to be new or whether I want to skip them and be late. But with Transformers 1, I just had the wrong showtime in my head. And so I showed up about 45 minutes late, but that's including all the trailers. So it's really only like 12 minutes late for the movie to begin. And it was still kind of like opening stuff. And I didn't miss anything, guys, I promise. It was very, very easy to pick up on the cues of who the bad guy really is and what's gonna, like, I wasn't lost. A lot of modern movies are like committed to not letting you feel lost, especially, I guess, an animated movie in a big franchise. Okay, so I've said things like this before, and I feel snobbish when I do, but Transformers is just not my franchise. I did grow up in that era, and I did think the toys were cool. A robot that transforms into a vehicle is a very silly idea, but a great toy idea. As far as epic motion pictures, it just doesn't translate for me. It doesn't work. I don't know. So I'm already coming at this with that issue. So, but everyone seems to be very positive on this movie, and it's an animated movie, which I think is easier for me to swallow than some of these big budget Bay Transformers movies. So, and I liked the Bumblebee movie enough, but even that felt like it just wasn't for me. So I went to see it, and it's good. People say it's good, and it's pretty good. It's directed by Josh Cooley, who one of the directors of Toy Story 4. Pixar doesn't usually have solo directors. I don't remember if he's the only director, or I imagine there was another one or two directors on that movie. I don't remember. But so that's pretty good pedigree. He directed a movie in a well-regarded franchise that had a lot of people nervous. That didn't, I think we would all agree, Toy Story 4 did not ruin that franchise. It might not be the strongest. I saw recently that Tarantino calls Toy Story 3 the best sequel and the best in that franchise, and that was interesting. Anyway, Transformers 1. So this is a prequel, an animated prequel to the Transformers franchise, where with the origin of all of our favorites, including the two of them that I can name. So it's, I feel like I talk a lot about prequel issues. I talk a lot about legacy movie issues, and this is just another one where he's Orion Pax at the beginning of the movie, and he's Optimus Prime by the end. Spoiler alert, but that's what it is. A couple of things. I won't spend too much time on it. It's fine. It's actually pretty good. It has all the famous people doing voices. Has all the Marvel people and the Brian Tyree Henry, who's also a Marvel person now. It's very much a modern animated blockbuster, but it's well made, it's well put together, and it has some cool stuff in it. But so I have two big things. One of them is about the Transformers franchise overall, which is probably not even worth vocalizing, because if I had a bigger following, people would just actually me. And also, it's just not worth my time, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the other one is specific to this movie. These are issues, these are questions I have. So first of all, Transformers. These are, there's so much lore in this franchise, and especially in this movie. Cybertron is this planet, and these cyber bots, these Autobots, well, they're not Autobots, I guess, until Prime declares them to be at the end of the movie. That's a spoiler alert. I guess I'm not going to honor spoilers for this, the 18th Transformers movie. But anyway, they are aliens, not in their world. They're native to this alien planet. To us, they're aliens. They're born. They have feelings. They can be hurt. They have relationships. They have passion, but they are robots. They grow up. They have like class systems. They can get hurt and die, but they can also be repaired depending on what the story needs. But the central thing, that the transformation, this is what gets me. There's some attempt to explain that they are, the nature of the molecular nature of their world is transformation. So when we see the surface of their planet, mountains are changing, things are changing. Transformation is like the DNA of this planet. And so that explains why robots who have a cog, which is part of the drama of this movie, who has a cog and who doesn't and who took the cogs and whatever, they can transform. Okay, fine. That doesn't explain why they transform into vehicles from 20th century Earth. I imagine that other versions of Transformers have, I seem to remember something about them adapting, being on Earth and trying to adapt and fit in. That's the idea, right? The more than meets the eye, they could be hiding anywhere. But that's not the lore of this version of Transformers. They are these crazy aliens with like energy inside of them and this whole different societal structure and all of these other like rules and all of these sparks and cogs. But when they transform, which is like a coming of age, it's the most important thing that a transformer can do, is come of age and transform. It's like getting your powers. It's like puberty. They transform into trucks and planes. I guess there's so much lore here. It's all about lore, but there's not even a throwaway line to explain why they turn into vehicles. And they also live on this weird, very like vertical, type of a topography, so that it doesn't make sense for them to be vehicles. The planes make a lot of sense. They fly around and do whatever they want, but the robots can already fly, so they don't need to turn into a plane to fly. But the vehicles with wheels, there has to be this whole like thing of these temporary roads that just kind of grow out of the ground so they have something to drive on. So it's not even practical for them to turn it to be. I know there's way more time than I thought I would be talking about it. It's fine. But so that's my issue with the overall franchise. To quickly wrap up, Transformers 1 is in this movie in particular, this is the story of how just these grunts, these normal workers in the mines of Cybertron, go on this journey to become the leaders of the Autobots and the Decepticons, these best friends. They were best friends, guys. And then by the end of the movie, they're sworn enemies. They have different views of how to run Cybertron. And so this is how the war has begun. What you don't realize until like the very, very late, almost final moments of this movie, is that everything, all of that stuff I just described, takes place in a day. There's like one sundown and one morning in the middle there, so like 36 hours. Some of these characters meet during the runtime of this movie, and they are like brothers by the end. And it's crazy how much they cram in there. And if you're not thinking about that, if you're just watching it and letting it wash over you, it mostly works. It's pretty compelling and silly, but like well put together. It's not awful. But that's just so funny to step back and be like, oh, this literally was just like a very eventful Tuesday on Cybertron. To the point where like characters who at the beginning of the movie were just like scrappy young guys like broing out and talking like teenagers, by the end they are talking about hope and autonomy and the future of Cybertron, and these voices, like, because it's a prequel, they have to turn into the things that from the thing. So that's all. I should have done 2 separate videos because I've already done 10 minutes now on this, but that's it. It's not bad. Check it out. Okay, and then I saw Friends. I saw The Wild Robot, and this one is an interesting one for me because this movie's great. By all accounts, everybody loves this movie, and it's good, and you should go see it. And I agree, it's really, really good and special. But it almost doesn't matter that it is actually good, because this story and this property is so special to me. So my daughter is 13 now. But when she was in elementary school, I don't remember the grade, but she was just at the right age and in the right moment in school when the book, The Wild Robot, came out, and it was a signed reading. And this is back when, I'm already getting verklempt. This is back at the very beginning. My daughter was a voracious reader, so she was reading a little earlier, but this is when it was family reading, Like now she gets assigned books, middle school, high school, and she reads them and she does work on them herself. This is when we read them together because she was just learning how to read longer books. And so they would assign a family book and your family would read this book every night together. And we read The Wild Robot and the sequel, The Wild Robot Escapes. And it was so delightful. And I don't know if it's really that. I guess now that it's a movie and people are responding to it, I feel a little vindicated that yes, it is that good. But it just is so special to me, and it was such a special moment with my daughter that I actually don't know if it's that good or if it just is because I see it through the lens of reading it with her. And it is especially so. This is a story of a robot who is kind of like an assembly line robot, helper robot in some version of a near future, who like accidentally washes up on this island that's inhabited only by animals, and she's programmed to help people and accomplish tasks. And so this brutal world of nature and red in tooth and claw has now this robot in the middle of it, and things are killing each other and trying to kill her, and she survives, but the central story is really about her through circumstances of the plot becoming like a mother figure to a little baby goose named Bright Bill. And Bright Bill, all I have to do in my house is just say Bright Bill, and my daughter and I will look at each other with tears welling in our eyes because of how sweet this relationship is and how cute this little goose is. And we have a lot of geese here in Rockland County, around Rockland Lake all the time, and there's geese. Geese are a-holes. They're not like that cute. But this goose is special, and this relationship between this robot, and so that it ends up being this weird kind of. It seems silly to call it like a Christ allegory, but like they do that in this movie. In the end of this movie, there's this whole speech about, the special one who came from above, from nowhere, and taught us to be kind, and her work is not done. So like they really lean into it in this movie version. It also feels, it's been years since I read the book. I don't know how different it is. It felt a little different in terms of the plot, but this movie is very good. It's really good. It's directed by Chris Sanders, who the creator of Stitch, co-director of Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. He's got a great track record. He's a great animator. He's done some. I'm rusty. I used to know what characters guys animated. He created Stitch, but I think he animated the tiger in Aladdin. What's his name? I'm rusty, guys. It's shameful that I can't just pull this stuff. But he's one of those guys. He was a Disney animator, and then he became a filmmaker on his own. He also has really great sketchbooks. He draws women and little creatures and things, and he's really, really good. So Chris Sanders is great, and this movie's very good. Here's what's great about it, just on a meta level. It is a big budget DreamWorks animated movie that does have famous voices. It has Lupita Nyong'o and Pedro Pascal and Bill Nighy and Matt Berry and a few other people show up. But it's not like a comedy star in the middle of, it's not built around the persona. It has like animals that speak, but it's built into the plot that Roz like spends time learning how to communicate with them. So they can't, it's very animated movie realistic before she does. And then once she does, she can communicate. I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm just saying that it takes its time to build a world that is believable. Verisimilitude, I believe, is the word. Like, it's not realistic, but you buy into it. It's believable in the time that you're spending time with it. And it's tender, and it's exciting when it needs to be, but it's about things that are sweet and real and nice and moving. And so it's real good. It's real nice. And I won't give too much away about it. One element that I had forgotten from the book was that the story is post-apocalyptic, which doesn't seem necessary. I guess maybe it does for the lack of like people around, but I just forgot about that. And it's not like directly, it's kind of subtle. Like you figure it out over time, especially as characters have opportunities to leave this island and see other parts of the world. It's like, oh, I forgot about that element. So I won't say much more. This movie has good buzz. I'm just going to say it's good, but it's also really special to me. I think I still prefer the book to the movie, even though this is a gorgeous movie, and I love animation, and I love Chris Sanders, and this is well done. It's still, it's very nice. I went to see it with my daughter, and it was a very special time to remember that. And my daughter's 13. Hanging out with your dad and going to see a cartoon with your dad is not like the number one thing that 13-year-olds are lining up to do, but she was enthusiastic and we had a great time. And then I bought her boba and we had a nice time at the mall we were at. So warm fuzzies, it's great. It's great to have a kid, and especially a great kid like Gloria. So that's it. I could say more, but that it is what it is. I probably, in hindsight, very weird to pair these movies. The robot thing is not enough, and I spent more time ranting about the dumb Transformers movie, the good dumb Transformers movie, and then I shortchanged this great movie here. But hopefully you enjoyed this time that we've had together, my friends. And you can support me on Patreon. I do have a new podcast feed, which I'll put in the description. And I will talk to you again very soon with more fun stuff. See ya. Josh out.